Ottawa. We love Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
In this bulletin, drug convict launches appeal. Domestic violence helpline buzzing. And DFL tells people to be cautious of wiring.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Australian national John Nikolic, serving 23 years imprisonment for drug smuggling, is appealing his sentence. The 45-year-old was last year found guilty of 2 counts of importing an illicit drug and being in possession of arms and ammunition without holding an arms license. Clad in a white shirt and yellow tie and navy blue Sulu, Nikolic appeared in the appeals court this morning. Nikolic was initially appealing against his conviction as well, but the court has been informed that the Australian has decided to abandon this and will focus on the sentence only. His lawyer has sought time to file amended grounds of appeal. The matter has been adjourned to November 18th. Fiji Women's Crisis Centre has received more than 500 calls from victims of domestic violence. These calls were recorded between the months of January to July on their 24-hour toll-free line. Coordinator Shamima Ali says although the number had not been as bad as the period of lockdown, the continuous calls continue to be a major concern. Ali says the pandemic has proven to be very dangerous for women as job losses has led to family tensions and disputes.
There is more pressure on her. There is pressure on him. If he has lost his job, he can't provide for his family. So all that is a very lethal mix for a lot of women, and that is why we have seen such a spike in domestic violence cases of calls that have come through and so on.
Energy Fiji Limited has highlighted the importance of safety at home as a growing concern. Chief Executive Hasmukh Patel says they are aware of deteriorating electrical wiring in many homes and advises homeowners to look into it. Patel says while the EFL does not have authority over home wiring, they will ensure all Fijians are safe in their own space. EFL is also aware of complacent landlords, and Patel says tenants should act accordingly for their own safety.
It's better for you to immediately get the services of a registered electrical contractor, solve the problem, pay him, and then give the bill to the landlord and tell him this is what I've done. Because expediency or speed is important, because if you depend on the landlord and he's not an active landlord who's going to solve your problem immediately, then you don't want to keep your family at risk.
The Ministry of Health is working to set up a Centre for Disease Laboratory in Nadi and the capacity for COVID-19 testing in Lotoka Hospital. This was highlighted by the Minister for Health, Dr. Ifremi Wangainambete, while receiving a donation of COVID-19 testing kits worth over $600,000. They were donated by the Republic of Korea and the Korea International Cooperation Agency, better known as CocaCola. Wangainambete acknowledged CocaCola and the government of Korea for being in constant contact with Fiji's Center for Disease Control on the type of COVID-19 test kits best suited for Fiji. He says this will definitely enhance Fiji's testing capabilities, especially at the borders and at the Fiji Center for Disease Lab in Tamabua.
Last week, WHO assessed our compliance to COVID-19 testing, and they've assessed us as having 100% compliance of the highest caliber of testing. So we have very rigid and stringent form of testing. If we say that somebody is COVID-19 negative, they are truly negative. And if we say they are positive, they are truly positive, because we align ourselves to that type of testing.
The Environment Ministry is yet again reminding local manufacturers and industrial operators to safely dispose of waste materials in designated landfills. Permanent Secretary Joshua Wycliffe says over the past few months, they've caught a number of manufacturers illegally dumping their waste materials in certain non-designated spots, posing a risk to the environment. However, Wycliffe stresses there are proper channels to be followed if manufacturers or industrial companies plan to have their own waste management system.
Industrial operations to dump their waste in designated places and dispose of. Any company that wants to manage waste will need a waste permit. Without a waste permit, you cannot handle waste. You'll have to take it to the designated landfill, which is Namboro here in the central, and dispose it here if it's in the central, and then if it's in the west, if it's closer, then to Lotoka.
Fiji is currently importing nearly 99% of lamb and mutton for local consumption annually. Agriculture Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says this can be reduced if more farmers focus on raising sheep. Dr. Reddy says the ministry is working to help farmers move from subsistence farming to national large-scale sheep farming, and this will only happen if farmers work closely with the ministry. Dr. Reddy says they're working on expanding the base of the agriculture sector with initiatives to help farms venture into sheep farming.
We're importing nearly 99% of lamb meat from outside Fiji. 99% lamb meat. Now, if we just have, let's say, 500 farmers of sheep farmers, we will not be able to, no matter how much we concentrate on them, we will not be able to expand sheep production. So when I say expanding the base, we are now, instead of having 500 sheep farmers, we want to have, let's say, 2,000 sheep farmers. There's ample arable land.
A lot of Fijians have engaged in selling kava during this difficult time, and there have been instances where their business was short-lived. Fiji Kava says it's crucial for those aspiring entrepreneurs to understand the process involved in selling kava with compliance of the food and safety standard. General Manager Sales George Kotombalavu says kava is consumed widely and its quality should not be compromised.
I think what's most important is making sure that the proper standards in terms of hygiene and how the products are cleaned and packed to make sure that it meets the standards. Because kava is consumed as a beverage mostly locally. So, you know, for people to be selling kava, whether it's on the roadside in small kava shacks or having their own business, I think what's very important is compliance to standards and making sure that there's consistency.
There will be a festive atmosphere leading up to the Fiji Day celebration within the Suva Central Business District area. This as the Suva City Council yesterday announced Suva on sale from the 5th to the 10th of next month. Considering that a number of retail workers are on reduced hours, the Suva City Council believes the sale will generate some employment.
There are events that will coincide with this to ensure that we all celebrate the independence.
Up ahead, Mars Rugby Club ready for 44th tournament. And Vodafone Championship quarterfinals next week.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
The Fiji Bitter Mars Sevens is known to have discovered some of the country's finest rugby players. Some notable names that were discovered during the tournament include the likes of William Ryder, Penny Ngaunimeke, Kalione Nasoko, Jerry Tuai, Chasa Verimalua, and Suliano Volivoli. With several teams to make their debut in the 44th tournament, Mars Rugby Club President Lawrence Tikaram says more talent will be revealed.
We've been doing it for the last 44 years. We're just the patent holders for the current for the tournament, and we give credit to where credit is due to the founder of the tournament, the late George Reed, and his team. Recognition to where it's due to the players and the teams and the captains. This tournament is about them.
The Police Blues are ready to tackle whatever hurdle awaits them as they begin their title defense campaign for the 44th Fiji Bitamari Sevens tournament. The title holders are in their second week of training, and despite the short time frame, team manager Sakiasi Moli says they should be well prepared come Friday. While they're drawn in one of the toughest pools in the tournament, Moli says the opponents are no strangers to the team and the players are up for the challenge.
The only advantage for them is that they've been together for a while. And like I've said, we've just marched into camp 2 weeks ago. So there is one point where they'll edge us on the combination and in terms of fitness. But I surely believe that the boys know that. They've prepared themselves.
The Vodafone Championship will have its final round this weekend. Obalau and Nanukuloa are the only two unbeaten teams from the 4 divisions. However, 2 teams from the north plan to finish on a high. Aquila Dama with more.
The Kondrove may be out of the Vodafone Championship, but they have learnt a lot this season, and discipline is something the side will have to improve on next year.
Discipline is something we learn every day at training. We teach the players to maintain discipline on the ground, and they are also taught the basic rules of rugby. However, sometimes they react to the decisions made by the referee and they lose their temper, which contributes to our downfall.
The Mbua team, on the other hand, has a high chance of making the quarter-final as the second best team from the north. And just like the Kondrove, they say there is a need to play smart rugby.
We're still working on it. Probably it will be something they've been accustomed to, just to transfer that negative aggressiveness to positive in order to do something well for the game, and I think it's part of the game.
The Vodafone Championship quarterfinals will be held next weekend. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
The slow-moving low-pressure trough is gradually drifting away from Fiji as the weather clears. Associated cloud and showers continue to affect the eastern parts of the group. And that's your FBC News now. Join us again at 7 p.m. for our major bulletin. In times of crisis, you need news you can trust. Get the verified facts from FBC's TV, radio, and digital news. FBCnews.com.fj, keeping Fijians connected with the truth. Enjoy your lunch.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.